Everybody talking, but not everybody moving. Everybody posting, but not everybody progressing. We live in a time where people want to announce the seed before it's even planted. But baby, hear me when I tell you, sometimes the greatest power is in your silence. You don't have to broadcast your breakthrough before it's born. You don't have to explain your elevation to people who ain't even ready to climb. A pause, lower your tone for emphasis, because when you talk too soon, you invite voices that were never meant to speak over your vision. See, I've learned that real power doesn't make noise. Real power moves in purpose. The sun doesn't shout before it rises. It just shows up. The eagle doesn't explain its flight. It just flies. And sometimes God will call you into a season of silence not to punish you, but to protect you. Because not everybody can handle what God whispered in your spirit. Not everybody can see the vision He placed in your heart. Some people would rather talk about your plan than help you build it. Or raise your voice slightly with conviction. So in this season, I came to tell somebody, stop announcing and start advancing. Stop posting and start progressing. Because when you move in silence, when you grind in secret, when you let God shape you in the shadows, your success will speak louder than any status ever could. Silence protects purpose. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Sometimes God gives you something so powerful, so divine, so fragile in its early stage, that it must be protected before it can be presented. There are moments when your purpose is still forming, when your dream is still delicate. And if you open your mouth too soon, you invite the wrong hands, the wrong opinions, and the wrong spirits into something that was meant to grow quietly. You cannot tell everyone what God told you in private, because not everyone has the spiritual maturity to understand it. There are people in your life who smile at your ideas, but secretly doubt them. Some will nod their heads while inwardly hoping you fail, and some will even discourage you under the disguise of being realistic. That's why silence is sacred. When you protect your purpose with silence, you keep it pure, you keep it powerful, and you keep it aligned with God's timing instead of people's expectations. Everybody doesn't need to know your next move. Everybody doesn't deserve a seat at the table of your destiny. Some people are meant to watch your results, not your process. There's a reason why God told Joseph his dream, but when Joseph told his brothers, they couldn't handle it. They didn't rejoice. They became jealous. They didn't celebrate his vision. They conspired against it. That story is not just a tale of betrayal. It's a warning about exposure. You can't share your divine downloads with people who only think on a carnal level. They'll misinterpret your faith as arrogance, your preparation as pride, and your growth as competition. That's why silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Silence doesn't mean you're afraid. It means you're strategic. When you're silent, you give God space to work. You allow Him to shape the details without interference. You allow time to build your character before your platform grows. Some of us are so eager to prove ourselves that we rush to announce what hasn't yet matured. We post the vision before we've planted the seed, and then we wonder why the soil dries up. The soil didn't fail. We exposed it too soon. Every strong foundation is laid in secret. Builders don't invite a crowd while they pour the concrete. They wait until the structure stands before they reveal what's been created. The same is true for your life. When God gives you an assignment, He will often hide you. He'll put you in seasons where nobody's watching, where it feels like you're being overlooked, but really, you're being protected. He hides you until your roots are deep enough to handle the weight of your future. Silence becomes your shield. It keeps the wrong voices out and the right focus in. Some of you need to stop explaining yourself to people who don't have the spiritual vocabulary to understand your language. You keep trying to convince people to see what God already confirmed. Stop seeking validation from those who were never meant to validate your calling. There's a power that comes from restraint. There's a strength in holding your peace while you're building your purpose. Because when you can stay silent, you demonstrate trust. Trust that God is moving even when you're not announcing. Trust that His plan doesn't need your public approval to be fulfilled. Every time you hold your tongue, you build discipline. Every time you stay focused on the work instead of the noise, you build strength. And when the time is right, the same people who doubted you will see what God did through you. You won't have to say a word. Your results will do the talking. Your elevation will speak for itself. They'll wonder how you did it, how you grew, how you made it. And all you'll have to do is smile, because you know the truth silence protected your purpose. In this world of oversharing, where everyone is shouting about their next move, learn to move in mystery. Learn to let your progress whisper. You don't owe the world your blueprint. You owe God your obedience. Protect your peace. Protect your plan. Protect your purpose. Because when you guard it with silence, you position yourself for divine success, the kind that no critic can stop, no hater can block, and no force can destroy. Private work builds public power. What's done in secret, God rewards in the open. We live in a world where people crave instant validation. They want to be seen before they've even started, applauded before they've even achieved. But true greatness doesn't begin in the spotlight. It begins in the shadows. It's not what you show people that gives you strength. It's what you do when no one is watching. The quiet hours, the unseen effort, the lonely discipline. That's where power is formed. When you're working privately, when you're being faithful in the hidden place, you are building something the world won't understand until the fruit shows. There's something sacred about the secret place. It's the place where God molds character before exposure, where He develops integrity before influence. Everybody wants a platform, but not everybody wants preparation. God will never bless you publicly if you haven't been faithful privately. Before David ever faced Goliath, he fought lions and bears when nobody was there to cheer. Before Joseph wore the robe of leadership, he served in a prison cell. Before Jesus stepped into His ministry, He spent 30 years in quiet obedience. Every destiny that shines began with a season of silence and secret work. When you do the work in private, you allow the process to purify your purpose. You're not chasing applause. You're chasing alignment. You're not working for people's approval. You're working for God's glory. That's the kind of work that endures. Because when storms come, and they will, public fame won't keep you standing, but private faith will. When criticism comes, your unseen consistency will be your anchor. When doors open, your hidden discipline will sustain what your talent started. Too many people want to skip the secret stage. They want the crown without the cave. But the cave is where character is born. It's where God tests your heart before He trusts your hands. It's where you learn to serve when no one's looking, to give when no one's clapping, and to believe when no one's agreeing. That's the soil of real power. If you can be faithful in obscurity, God can trust you with opportunity. You see, when you grind in secret, God is watching. He sees every late night, every prayer, every tear, every effort that no one else notices. And the Bible says He rewards openly what is done in secret. That means while you're sowing behind closed doors, heaven is preparing your harvest. You may feel unseen, but you are not forgotten. You may feel overlooked, but you are being observed by the only one whose approval truly matters. Sometimes, God will deliberately keep you in a private season to protect you from premature exposure. Because exposure before maturity is dangerous. If you rise too soon, the same crowd that claps for you can crush you. But if you let God establish your roots first, no storm can uproot what He's planted. You don't have to rush the process. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just keep working when nobody's watching. Keep believing when nobody's clapping. Keep showing up when it feels like it doesn't matter. Because it does. Every act of obedience in private is an investment in your future. When you look at the most powerful people, the ones who truly carry authority, you'll notice something. They've spent time in the wilderness. They've been broken before they were built, hidden before they were highlighted. They've learned to serve in silence before they could lead with strength. You can't skip that. The wilderness is not punishment. It's preparation. It's where you learn who you are when nobody's affirming you. It's where you build spiritual muscles that fame could never give. And when the time comes, when God says, now, all that private work will speak for itself. People will see your results and call it luck, but you'll know it was labor. They'll call it sudden, but you'll know it was years in the making. The world will see your shine, but they won't see your grind. They'll hear your voice, but they'll never know how long you spent in silence learning to listen. So, keep working. Keep building when no one claps. Keep showing up when it's hard. Because in due season, what was done in private will produce power in public. God will elevate you when the time is right, and the very people who overlooked you will have to acknowledge you. Not because you shouted for attention, but because your results became undeniable. You don't need to announce every move. Just make sure the move is real. You don't need to broadcast your grind. Just make sure your work is blessed. God sees what others can't, and He will reward you in ways no audience could ever match. So stay faithful in the secret place, because private work always builds public power. Discipline speaks louder than declaration. Let action prove what words cannot. In a world full of talkers, dreamers, and announcers, it's the doers who rise above the noise. Everybody says they want success, but not everybody is willing to do what success demands. Words are easy, promises are easy, but discipline, that quiet, consistent, unseen commitment to the process, that's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. You don't become powerful by what you declare. You become powerful by what you do daily, especially when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping, and when nobody's checking. Discipline is what turns dreams into reality. You can talk about changing your life, but until you wake up early, focus, sacrifice, and repeat, it's just talk. People often say, I'm waiting for motivation, but motivation is temporary. Discipline is eternal. Motivation starts the engine, but discipline drives the car. Motivation makes you feel good, but discipline makes you grow. You don't need to feel ready. You need to be consistent. You don't need to announce your goals. You need to execute them. The truth is, people can't argue with results. You can tell them what you plan to do. You can try to convince them of your vision. But when your actions start producing fruit, your results will silence every doubt. That's why discipline is louder than any speech, stronger than any declaration. Because when you move in quiet consistency, your life becomes the evidence of your faith. When you study the greats, the people who changed history, led nations, inspired generations, they weren't just dreamers, they were disciplined. They didn't let emotions decide their effort. They worked when tired, they focused when distracted, and they kept pushing when no one believed. Discipline builds something that words never can: credibility. When people see that you are steady, when they see you show up again and again, you don't have to convince them. They can see it. Some of us talk too much about what we're going to do and not enough about what we're actually doing. We post the plans, we announce the goals, but the real power is in the follow-through. Every time you declare a plan but fail to act, you weaken your word. Every time you act without announcing, you strengthen your integrity. Because discipline doesn't need validation, it needs repetition. Think about it. A tree doesn't talk about growing, it just grows. A lion doesn't talk about hunting, it just hunts. The ocean doesn't boast about its depth, it just is. Nature teaches us that power doesn't require proclamation. It requires presence. So why are we trying to prove what time will reveal? Why are we wasting energy convincing people when we could be constructing progress. There will be days when your discipline feels like it's not paying off. You'll wake up early, put in the work, and see no visible reward. That's where most people quit. But discipline is a seed. It works beneath the surface before it shows above the ground. You can't rush it. You can't skip it. Every act of consistency is another layer of foundation being laid beneath your destiny. So keep showing up. Keep doing the small things that matter. The prayer, the study, the focus, the patience. Because what you do privately, persistently, and patiently will soon speak publicly and powerfully. When you choose discipline, you silence doubt. You silence fear. You silence every voice that said you wouldn't make it. Because every act of obedience, every morning you push yourself, every temptation you resist, that's proof that you're serious about what you said you wanted. Talk fades, but transformation remains. And when people finally see your success, they'll call it overnight. They'll think it just happened. But you'll know the truth. It was years of discipline. It was every unseen hour, every lonely season, every sacrifice no one knew about. Discipline wrote your story when nobody was reading it. It turned declarations into demonstration. So stop talking about what you're going to do. Stop trying to convince people to believe in you. Let your work do the talking. Let your consistency be your message. You don't need to say much when your life becomes the sermon, because real power doesn't come from what you announce, it comes from what you execute. So rise early, stay focused, be steady. Let your discipline speak louder than your declarations. And when your results start shining, when your success begins to speak, you won't have to prove anything, because your life will be the loudest declaration of all. Your success will testify. Let the results announce what your mouth never said. There is a divine beauty in letting your life speak for itself. You don't have to explain where you're going when God is leading the way. You don't have to convince people to believe in your vision when your results are already preparing the proof. Sometimes the best response to doubt, gossip, and criticism is progress. Keep moving, keep building, keep growing, because one day your success will stand as your loudest testimony. People may not believe in you right now. They may underestimate you, talk about you, or overlook you. They might call you foolish for chasing something they can't see. But that's all right. They don't need to see it. They didn't hear what God told you in the midnight hour. They weren't there when you cried, prayed, and pushed through your pain. They don't know the conversations you've had with heaven. That's why you can't let their disbelief discourage your determination. You have to keep walking by faith, not by sight. Success is not something you shout about, it's something you show. The real testimony is not in the noise, but in the evidence. You don't have to tell them what you're going to do. You just have to do it. And when you do it, your results will speak in a language no critic can argue with. You see, words fade, opinions change, but results remain. When God starts to manifest what He promised, even your enemies will have to admit, surely the Lord was with them. But before success testifies, there's always a season of silence. There's always a time when you're working, but nobody sees it. When you're believing, but nobody understands it. When you're giving your all, but nobody claps. That's the season when you're building your testimony. That's the season where character is forged, patience is perfected, and faith is proven. Because when the spotlight finally finds you, it should reveal the strength you built in the dark. God doesn't waste a struggle. Every failure, every delay, every disappointment is part of the preparation. When people see your success, they'll see the glory, but they won't see the grind. They'll see the reward, but not the rejection. They'll see the light, but not the lonely nights. And that's okay. You're not meant to explain it, you're meant to embody it. Because your story isn't just about success. It's about survival, about endurance, about faith that refused to quit when everything else said stop. When success finally comes, It will speak louder than your defense ever could. You won't have to say, "I told you so." Your growth will say it for you. You won't have to clap back at critics. Your consistency will silence them. You won't need to prove anything. Your progress will handle that. The ones who doubted you will have to watch you walk in the very thing they said you couldn't do. The same mouths that mock you will have to speak your name in respect. Because when God elevates you, He makes sure everyone who tried to bury you sees the bloom. But don't chase success for the applause. Chase purpose for the impact. Success that testifies is not about ego, it's about evidence. It's about showing the world what faith, hard work, and divine timing can do. Your success should point back to God, saying, "Look what He did with someone they counted out." When your success carries humility and gratitude, it becomes more than achievement. It becomes ministry. It encourages others that if God did it for you, He can do it for them. So, don't waste energy defending your dreams. Don't try to explain your vision to people who refuse to see. Don't argue with those who doubt you. Let time handle that. Time is the greatest truth teller. Keep working, keep believing, and keep trusting that one day your results will stand as undeniable proof of your perseverance. You don't have to shout when your work speaks. You don't have to prove yourself when your progress preaches. The testimony is already being written in every sacrifice you make, in every day you don't quit, in every prayer you whisper when you're tired. Success will come, not to prove them wrong, but to prove God right. And when it comes, it will testify for you louder than any speech ever could. So stay the course. Let your success be your voice. Let your consistency be your comeback. Because when your moment arrives, when your harvest finally breaks through the soil, the world will hear it loud and clear. God did it. When it's all said and done, this is the truth. You don't need to shout to shine. You don't need to tell the world what you're building when God is already blessing it behind the scenes. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means you trust God's process more than you crave people's praise. You've learned that not every plan deserves exposure. Not every vision needs validation, and not every step should be shared. Because real power, God's power, moves quietly. When you work in silence, you protect what's sacred. When you grind in secret, you build unshakable strength. When you choose discipline over declaration, your results speak for you. And when your success finally rises, it will not whisper. It will roar. The same people who questioned your silence will hear the sound of your success echoing through every area of your life. They'll realize you weren't ignoring them. You were incubating something divine. So don't let impatience pull you out of your process. Don't let the pressure to be seen make you forget that you're already chosen. God is crafting something in you that doesn't need noise. It needs nurture. Let them talk while you build. Let them doubt while you develop. Let them sleep while you sow. Because when God's timing aligns with your obedience, nothing and no one can stop the manifestation of His promise. Your silence is not empty. It's full of faith. Your waiting is not wasted. It's full of work. Your process is not punishment. It's preparation. So keep moving in purpose, keep walking in faith, and let your results be the sermon the world can ignore. When your success speaks, it will speak of your endurance. It will testify of your obedience. It will declare the goodness of God in your story. And you'll stand there, not needing to say a word, because your life will be the loudest praise of all.